welcome back to the channel. All right, so I was thinking I've been seeing a lot in the headlines in the auto industry. Obviously, if you're in the car, if you're on YouTube, if you've seen anything on the news, you'll know, you probably have heard, obviously, with Tesla's price cut. And I do the parenthesis, quote, I say a quote, price cut, because the price isn't really a cut from what it was before. If you look back, the Tesla Model Y, when it first came out, the entry level, or say entry level, the long range was at $49,000. The car did very minor, but it hasn't had any like revamp. They just maybe changed some of the small interior tweaks and did maybe some software upgrades, maybe a hardware of the new Ryzen chip. But otherwise, the car has been relatively unchanged since its release in 2020. So obviously people like the Model Y. Demand has went up. And then it got to the point where you were waiting a year for a long range Model Y. The performance models usually had a shorter wait, but most people who are looking for a Model Y, performance 0 to 60 time wasn't their ultimate goal, which is understandably, both people who are buying electric aren't looking for 0 to 60 unless you're going to buy a Plaid, which, that's a whole different topic on its own. But why does it sell so well? Like, what makes it so desirable? Because there are other cars on the market that are comparable to. So I'm gonna try to break this down. So keep watching the video. Let me see if I can name reasons why. All right, so guys, my name is Eddie. Obviously, automotive YouTuber, anything car related, DIYs, car advice, anything cars, learn, grow cars. So anyway, I want to talk about the Tesla topic, the Model Y. I think the Model Y is popular for one thing. If you think back to the 90s, what I say mid 90s was a popular era to like the early 2000s. And it's still a popular thing today. People like space. They like comfort. But before is either you buy a sedan, especially in the 90s, I'm saying it more than that because you buy a sedan or you buy an SUV. And SUVs are more truck based. So you either go for your Ford Explorer, your Tahoe, or there was really nothing in between because those car-based, those crossovers didn't exist until later on. So when the minivan era came out, families were like, wow, this is great. This is great space for my family. You can pack everybody in there, 7, 8 passenger seating, sliding doors. Remember they added this, the first vans had the one slide door and then they finally added the second slide on the other side. And that was like game changer. It was like, wow, dual sliding doors. All right. Now, what changed more was when the Chrysler did their stow and go, stowage. So not only could you pack people in there, but you can store things underneath the floor and hidden compartments. And you can, and it was very helpful, especially on road trips and things. You always had your conveniences with you without having to clutter on the floor. Okay. And comes sport utility vehicles, because some people like the persona of driving a minivan, which rightfully so. I mean, at one point I did drive a minivan, Toyota Sienna SE. I thought it was really sporty, but minivan has their purpose. Minivans are great. They have a lot of room, and minivans are still great, but I feel like the sport utility era the crossover sort of kind of stole a little bit from that, because people were saying, you know what, I never want to drive minivan. I don't drive minivan, but I'll drive in the sport utility. So then comes the 7 passenger SUVs. I'm not talking about the Suburbans and the Tahoes and the Expeditions. I'm talking about the smaller ones. I'm talking about for one, the Explorers. They went from more truck-like to more softer car-like. So having an SUV that drives like a car was a game changer. People were like, wow, this it looks like a truck, but it drives like a car. And then made it easier. Some people who felt they were timid or felt intimidated by bigger vehicles, and they felt like it felt car-like, easy to drive. That's what gravitated those and attracted those buyers. Now, if you look into I think 1999 was when I think Lexus came out with the RX 300, their first crossover, and it was smooth riding. It was 5-passenger, and then Ford Escape, and a few things. And then when they start adding on the 7-passenger, what you think about the Mazda CX-9, Volkswagen Atlas, those things, those Audi Q7, those SUVs were popular. Toyota Highlander, you can get third row in the Highlander, Acura MDX, Honda Pilot. And then you remember that at one point era, there was a really popular with the Chevrolet Traverse. It seemed like this is what stole the minivan market. It was when the Traverse came out, the Saturn Outlook, and the GMC Acadia. A lot of minivan buyers, as their kids grew up a little bit, they decided, you know what? I don't want to be a minivan. I don't want to be a minivan mom or a minivan dad. I want to get SUV. Something that looks a little tougher, right? Something that just, doesn't say just minivan. Guess what? Those SUVs did all that stuff. There are people movers, and they had all this stuff. Then when it comes to electric, everybody's kind of like, people were scared and everything like that. And then obviously, Tesla's popular. Tesla has the best game changer. They've got the best supercharging network. They were one of the first ones to create the longer range in these cars, to the point where people felt comfortable. They could buy these cars without having range anxiety. And it's the reason why I'm even shopped for a Tesla. I still think about Tesla because I'm still thinking, as much as I try to not want a Tesla, I keep going back to them because of their, for one, the ease of use. Let's put it that way. It's easy to use. You don't want something complicated. You want something that you can just get into it and drive. So you want something if you needed to stop for charge, you want something almost easy as getting for gas. And that's sort of how the supercharger network is. It's grown so much that it's almost easy as finding a gas station, depending on where you are. At least here in California. I know out east it's a little harder. When I did the road trip from Ohio to North Carolina in the Model S Plaid, it wasn't hard, but I definitely can see, if you didn't plan your stops accordingly, how you may miss a charger. But depending on where you are, it's really not hard to find one. So Model Y is electric. So that's the big plus, because here's what people was like, I don't want to pay gas. The price point. The price point is in there, especially when it first came out, $49,000, $50,000, in there with some of the higher priced SUVs that had the third row, and you can get third row, you can get people movers. But one thing about the Model Y is it had the storage, okay? If you look underneath, especially if you get the 5-passenger setup, there's storage underneath, like the main compartment on the trunk, and then there's forward of that, closer to the seats, there's more storage there. So families are like, wow, this is great. Storage, people mover, SUV, drives a car, looks, crossover-like. So all those qualities, having a crossover, that's been popular. Having electric is popular. Supercharger network's popular. Price point's good. Frunk. And it's sort of combined everything that's been popular over the last few years and put it in one package. And it's really hard to, at first I was like, why is this car so popular? So wait a minute, it checks pretty much all the boxes for most people, especially families looking to step into electric, but they want to keep everything else. The Model X could be popular, but the price, it being a 6-figure car, prices a lot of people out. It moves a lot of, you sort of target a certain buyer. And those buyers, they still will buy the Model X, but you're targeting a smaller audience when you get up there in those price points. Especially when they have smaller children, because you got to think smaller children, you're going to have to pay for childcare, or you're at least one person, they're staying home with the kid. It all depends of financially. You could buy probably 2 Model Ys for a price of a Model X. So each family member could drive their own Model Y. So having the range, having the supercharger network, everything else is what made the Model Y extremely popular. And the other SUVs just electric ones just can't compete with it. As much as they try to bring the price, I know Ford's been doing the Mach-E's direct competitor. The Mach-E doesn't have the supercharger network. The Mach-E doesn't have all the storage. Mach-E doesn't have the it's sort of a new player, with the range. I mean, even people who want performance, I think the Model Y performance accelerates the Mach-E GT. Correct me if I'm wrong. So is all those things in there that I think this makes a Tesla. And also Tesla is such a simple looking car that the minivan buyers aren't really car people. Or they're not really buying the minivan for the looks, but for the functionality. So buying something electric like this and going to something like that to a Model Y it's such a simple car. Is they look at it as a tool for their family. And then most people are okay with dropping 50, 60 grand on a tool for their family to use because it's functional for one, fuel cost savings. You can justify that by charging at your house, and the cost of maintenance, not maintaining, not doing oil changes, and the water pump and all the spark plugs, things like that you come up with a regular gasoline car. It's really great to see how we've evolved from gasoline. But I'm still a diehard. I still like my gasoline cars. I like to hear the engine make, noises, but I can see why people are buying the Model Ys, and these are the reasons why I think they're popular, and I think why people are buying these cars. Because probably, I don't think, maybe some people probably wouldn't even think about spending 50, 60 grand for a luxury SUV, but the fact that what it does and what it's capable of, and having the full-time all-wheel drive, standard, I think now they have the 4680 batteries, I think is the standard range that's hidden somewhere in the menu, might be rear-wheel drive, I'm not sure. But like I said, you're getting the all-wheel drive, and Tesla's already proven that with the separate motors, that it could be superior to some of the all-wheel drive systems of some of their cars, because each motor can then adjust accordingly, as opposed to having one transaxle splitting the power between the four wheels, and then having clutches clamp on different areas of the front and rear axle, as opposed to just having each motor turn on and off separately. So that too, the all-wheel drive stability for all-weather performance. So those are my reasons. I think the Model Y is definitely on people's radars, and when Tesla raised the price up, I think that sort of at one point started to went a little bit too high. I felt like, in my opinion, just a little bit too high. People were still buying them, demand was still high, but I think at one point they finally caught up, or at least they got the production to a certain point. But now they brought the price down, not as low as it was before, and the people were like, "Oh, great." But I think for one, the tax credit, if you qualify for the tax credits, that makes it even better. So now that $53,000 car, you're taking $75 off of that. I mean, it's a no-brainer. There's nothing else out there that can beat that. So, let me know your comments if you agree with me or disagree. I know that we'll see. So I'm still shopping. I'm thinking for myself, if I get rid of the Type R, I'm leaning towards Model 3. I have the M3, and I say M3, not Model 3, but BMW M3 here. But I'm thinking, just trying to decide if I want the long range or performance, especially with the price cuts. You can definitely get a performance. I don't know if I want blue or black, but I'm leaning more towards the performance. Model Y, the price is there too, the Model Y performance. But we have two SUVs in the family, don't need a third SUV, so I think I could take advantage of the better range with the Model 3, especially the lower aerodynamics. But let me know what you think. Anyway, thanks for watching.